Hi, this is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNN Live. We're at the Marcum MicroCap Conference 2014 here in New York City. I have with me David Weild IV of IssuWorks, a private company. David, welcome back to SNN Live.
It's great to see you, Shelley. Nice.
Tell me about IssuWorks first. I want to start. Let's get the information out.
Well, so, people called me the father of the Jobs Act, and one of the things that grew out of all of our research that led to the Jobs Act in Washington was that we discovered that Wall Street just didn't have an economic model to cover the vast majority of institutional investors. So we have totally changed the economic model, and we are creating a capability that doesn't take commissions, because that's where the conflicts occur, and works exclusively for issuers and investment banks when they're doing deals to really dramatically broaden institutional distribution to the right subset of those. We use big data to identify the right subset of investors and within that long tail of the distribution curve. It could be supposed to what Wall Street really focuses on, which is 60 institutions generate 90% of commissions. We cover 3,500, but it's the right subset, and it's going to change if you're, depending on what kind of a biotech company you are, how big you are, what kind of a media company you are. It's going to be a different subset of relationships. And so what we do is we make sure that those investors all get called and contacted, and that can double, triple, quadruple the amount of interest in a company on an offering. And the other fascinating thing is that some of the investment banks now are talking to us about checking up on their institutional sales forces. So when we run a process with them, we kind of take a back seat and we look at it like we're working for the book running manager. And we don't tattletale on them, but with all the information that we bring to the table, they make better decisions. And they also can say, we're going to use IssuWorks to follow up on the calls that we've assigned to our institutional sales force to make sure that you made the calls. So you end up with dramatically higher penetration rates, which does a wonderful job, not just on the offering in terms of cutting deal execution risk, but it also it improves the aftermarket, because obviously now you've introduced the company to many more of the right kinds of investors.
How do you make money?
We make money through a combination of retainer fees. It's a novel model, so the issuers pay us retainer fees, but we get paid sort of the lowest average co-manager price on a follow-on equity offering, and we allow a credit for the issuers on that retainer fee. So if they do a deal on up to 12 months worth of retainer fees, they get it back. So it becomes incredibly cost effective. It's, they're already spending the money on equity offerings. So for people that want to engage us, it's kind of the solution, because it provides you an answer to the riddle of, who's providing the aftermarket support. So we do it before, during, and after offerings. We're with people continuously.
And you have people on the phone?
Yeah, we have people on the phone and using technology. I mean, we do data mining, we do customized, communications, so that when we go out to an institutional investor, they know why they're getting the call from us. We'll send them our analysis and say, this is why we think this is relevant to you. And that increases the likelihood that they're going to actually, tune in and watch the online roadshow.
Is it sector targeted?
Yeah, it's actually multi-layered. So if you think about it, it's different for every company. I mean, we do create macros when we do our analysis, but we think like institutional investors, which is, why is this going to be relevant to that account? So, for example, it starts with, does it fit the liquidity filters? Because if if the company is a $500 million market value company, there's tons of accounts that Wall Street covers that can't really use and own a $500 million market value company because of liquidity constraints, or because they're not permissioned in the bylaws of the fund. Yet Wall Street will market to those larger cap accounts, and larger cap accounts will flip the stock, and you never market to the small micro cap investor. We had this go on with AllianceBernstein, for instance, where there was a microcap manager, and we told the book running manager to call the microcap manager, and we found out in the aftermarket that the microcap manager never was called, and probably would have been interested in investing if they had been called. And so
also would have bought in the aftermarket.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so all we're doing, and if you put a sharp point on it, we think that if you're a sub $2 billion market value company, probably 90% of the calls that you'd like to have made institutionally are not getting made. That's how big the gap is. And if you actually look into the larger capitalization stocks, because the assets are so concentrated with that top 60 accounts, like an account like Cap Research, Cap World may be running $1 trillion in assets. The 50th largest account is 1/20th that size. It drops off very quickly. And so they're calling all of those large accounts, but they're not really kind of getting to the real homes, the natural homes. But if you're even an IBM, 30% of your market value, institutional market value, be held in the long tail, and you got a lot more money in IR. So we wouldn't be surprised at some point if even S&P 500 companies start to engage us to handle that other 30%, because it matters, and they have the money to be able to invest in the other 30% of the institutional marketplace that's not effectively being reached. I mean, we actually were surprised. We took on a client that's $5 billion in market value, and we went in there because we knew the management, thinking that they would be a likely investor in us because they understood markets. And I got, sort of 2 minutes into what we were doing, and the CEO and the COO said to me, we can't invest. I said, why is that? He said, because we want to be your first customer. And I was looking at him, I said, you're too big to be our first customer. And he said, no, Wall Street's taking me, this is a quote, to see the same 20 institutional investors all the time. And so the light bulb went on, and I said, if you're $4 or $5 billion in market value and you're a well-known household name and you're having that problem, then you can imagine the level of dysfunction for the typical small cap, micro cap company. And so we want to solve that problem because, as I said, we think we're the most important social impact story known to man. Why? Because we think getting capital better into the hands of the entrepreneurs and the scientists that are going to solve the problems, global warming, find cures to cancer, that to be able to do that better, faster, and less expensively, more consistently, is one of those things that is actually the third leg of the stool to kind of reinvigorate the U.S. economy and solve the major problems of tomorrow. And that's kind of what turns us up. There's a TEDx presentation up on the website. I mean, people don't understand, but when Intel went public back in 1971, it was only an $8 million IPO. And it missed delivery on its first product out of the box. That stock got cut in half. Okay, today that would have been a zombie stock. It would never have gotten dug out of the ditch because there was no aftermarket economic incentive, no way for people to kind of get the stock re-seen. And that is history now. But so you start to ask the question, how many Intel corporations of the world are we left, not taking into the public marketplaces? And these things are ultimately going to be, transformative. It's maybe less important to you and me, but it's absolutely critical to your son's, generation and my kid's generation. And so that's what we're passionate about. We want to fix it for entrepreneurs.
Let's get your website.
It's IssuWorks without the E, IssuWorks.com. And if you're interested, we have a tab on thought leadership. So all the work that we did down in Congress that led up to the Jobs Act and some of our testimony, that's all up there on the website as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, David Weild IV. IssuWorks, ISSU Works. It's a private company. This is David, so call him. Go to the website. What is that website one more time?
IssuWorks without the E, IssuWorks.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNN Live. We're at the Marcum MicroCap Conference 2014 here in New York City. Thanks, David, for coming on.
Thanks, Shelley. Nice to see you again.